What's going on, beautiful dogs? This is Tracy, and today I'm going to be doing a video on my favorite and least favorite decks. I'm going to be doing, I'm kind of going to mix it up in this video. I'm going to go back and forth between least and my faves, so it's not just like all the negative energy at once and all the positive energy at once, which I did when I talked about my favorite and least favorite sets. I thought this would be a really interesting video. Some of these are going to be absolutely no shocker to you. One thing I will say is I have basically avoided talking about all of my EDH decks because, well, obviously, like, they're my favorites because, like, those are my commanders and I love them, obviously. So I tried to do decks that in EDH that, like, I have had in the past or decks that I, like, really admire a lot. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with one of my least favorite decks. We're going to be talking about 10 in this video. Okay, let's be honest here, guys. Okay. If you know me at all, if you've watched my videos at all, what do you think my least favorite deck ever in anything is? It's Tron, right? Got it. Okay, I hate this deck. This is one deck, if I could set every copy of this deck on fire, you know I would. And I'm trying to think about ultimately, like, why I hate this deck so much. And I don't even know. I feel like it's mainly because I lose to it a lot. Like, let's be real here. I just think it's just not fun. And it's a deck that, like, yes, people are like, oh, well, like, if you're playing in, you know, a deck like Elves, like when I played Elves, you could realistically kill someone on turn, like, 3 with Elves before, you know, say, like, you're on the play. You can kill someone on turn 3 with Elves before, like, they even can do their whole Tron lands. Or wait, hold up, would that be turn 3? Well, that's just saying if that goes right. But I feel like just the way that the deck works with how, like, combo pieces work, basically, of how, like, getting the 3 lands, it's so, like, it's so synergistic and it's so maddening that it just seems to work so well, and that makes me so frustrated. Like, I have to say, and listen, as someone who's played Bloom Titan, which is ultimate combo, you know, there were so many times where my deck just totally flopped because I was like, I can't do anything, I don't have enough lands, but Tron's just like, psh, no problem, I got these other millions of answers. It's just ridiculous. Like, I feel like the amount of luck I've seen with Tron players is just infuriating. I hate this deck. I'm gonna switch focus because deck makes me insane. Negative energy gone. Let's talk about one of my favorite decks. So I am a blue mage at heart when it comes to competitive Magic. Let me rephrase. When it comes to modern. Competitive, if I'm doing like draft or sealed, it's totally different. But in EDH, I'm a totally different person. I'm like aggressive all the way. Competitively though, I'm a blue mage. It's what I do. Snapcaster Mage is like one of my favorite cards of all time. Yeah, so any sort of blue-white control variation, like Jeskai control, honestly, just, guys, whatever. I just love control decks in general, but I have to say particularly blue-white has been kind of like my thing. I've played definitely variations of that. One of the first blue-white deck techs I think I did, because I think I've done like 2 on my channel. One was that I played competitively, and I top 8'd something with, ran like Runed Halo and like sweet cards like that, deck suite. But then I've also done more, and it had like Wall of Denial in it. It was really sweet. And then I've had other versions as well that like haven't had, that one had like more creatures, but I've played ones that haven't, and it's just all variations of the type of deck I love. Sphinx's Rev, Supreme Verdict. Like, Sphinx's Rev, there's nothing more satisfying than Sphinx's Revving for like 4 or 5. You're just like, praise the Lord, like, this is awesome. So I'm a huge fan of that type of playstyle. If you've been keeping up with me, like, modern updates and like stuff, kind of what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be like, Paul and I are going to have like a binder of cards, and that way I can like cycle through and like change my deck up if I want to. But the primary deck that I'm going to be focused on building right now is blue-white control, because I just really love that type of deck. And if I get bored, I can always just, not like bored, but if I'm like, hey, I don't really want to play this today, I can like play a different deck. So that's kind of like the purpose there. But yes, I'm just a huge fan of any sort of blue-white control variant, or really just any sort of control decks in Modern. I'm a huge fan of. Okay, funny story about these next type of cards. Least favorite, I really hate Brago themed EDH decks. And funny story, it's that this card is blue-white, so I didn't do that on purpose, but I really hate Brago as a commander. I think he is totally unfair. So he's a 4-mana 2/4 flyer. When he deals combat damage to a player, you exile any number. That's stupid. Of target non-land permanents you control, and then you bounce them, you know, back to the field. So you have all these things that say ETB, do this, blah, 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 all this stuff. it's freaking stupid. It's broken. He is like, I hate him as a commander. And it's funny, I feel like I've never talked about him in my Cards I Loathe video, but he is like one of my least favorite commanders. And not that I've really seen it, at least in my game store area, but oh my god. So frustrating. I can't. Like, my friend Justin had this deck for a while, and I was like, I can't. It just really frustrates me. So yeah, no, any sort of like blink type of situations, not a fan of. Don't like it. Okay, moving on to a fave type deck is Kalia of the Vast. So I actually don't have I do have a Kalia deck up on my channel, actually. That's a mock deck, though. I don't have that deck. I did have a Kalia deck once upon a time. It was the first EDH deck that I actually completed, and it was just a ton of fun. Like, that deck was so fun, but people killed me really quickly because Kalia is very rude and very aggressive, but that deck was a ton of fun when I had it, and I don't know if I'll ever rebuild it, to be honest. People target you way too much, and it's just, I just don't think I'd do it again. But the deck was super fun while I had it, and I think it's awesome that other people have it. It's actually a really cool story about that deck, actually, is I had went to visit my friend Eddie, actually, at school. This was when he was in college, so this was like a couple years back, and this may have been like it was like around when I started playing EDH, so it may have been like 3-4 years ago, something like that. And we visited him at school, and one of his friends actually had Kalia, and this was around the time that I was thinking about it, but I was like, oh, I don't really know, like, so he was like going to like a party or something, so he's like, hey, like, play my deck. So we were like playing in a group of people, and I was just wrecking, and I was like, this is awesome, I need this deck. And that is what ultimately like inspired me to build Kalia. And it's, oh man, and you know what's funny is now I don't really take decks apart that often, but I have to say I'm very sad that I took the deck apart. It was a very sad day, but yeah, okay. This next deck, funny story, I don't feel like I've talked about this deck actually recently, but if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I absolutely loathe Lantern Control. Okay, guys, I've played against Lantern Control before, and it's funny because I think like people who say it are like, I don't understand like why this is so rude. Like, there are so many things I have to say. Like, I think recognizing like the things that you're doing are really powerful, and broken if they are, I think is like a super important thing in the Magic community. I should do a video on that because I don't really want to get that much into it here, but like, let me know if you guys want that, because I think it'd be a really interesting real talk. But I just feel like there's so many Lantern Control players who's like, I don't get why this deck is oppressive, and I'm like, okay, who remembers this Tracy video? I did a video when I was playing Bloom Titan one time, and so this was, you know, going back a couple years, like 2.5 years, something like that. And I was playing against a I never can remember the deck name. It's like green, white. It does like that infinite combo with Coco and the -1/-1 counters with Wall of Roots. I never can remember that deck name. I don't know why, but that deck, you guys know what I'm talking about. And I remember he was playing that, and he was like, combo decks are so stupid, and then proceeded to combo off with his stupid thing, and I was like, okay, cool, like, yes, I turn 2 killed you, which doesn't really happen frequently, but okay, sure. So that was a different story. So anyways, I'm sidetracked on that Lantern Control, but moral of the story is like, recognize the things that you're doing are powerful. That deck is just super, it's not playing Magic. It's so boring. Like, I don't know how honestly anyone could pilot that deck. I just think it's boring and like the same thing. And I think that's one reason too why I did take apart Bloom, because I was like, it's the same thing all the time. You know what I mean? Listen, casting turn to a Primeval Titan is incredibly satisfying, but I think one reason why I really like blue-white controls and things is like, I can win in a couple of different ways. I can like punch someone with Snapcaster Mage a bunch, Celestial Colonnade. You know, sometimes I just Sphinx's Rev for like 6 and my opponent's like, yeah, no, and scoops up their card. So there's a lot of win conditions, which I really like in that. And it's just, Lantern Control to me just seems so boring. I would never pilot a deck like that. I hate it, but I hate Tron more, definitely. I hate Tron more. Okay. Third favorite deck, I actually have fortunately had the chance to pilot Affinity. I will say Affinity is definitely one of my favorite decks. I never really mind playing against Affinity. I always find whatever type of decks in Modern, I've always pretty much sideboarded appropriately, I would say, for Affinity. It's not to say I've lost, I mean, I've lost to Affinity definitely before, but it's definitely a deck that I really appreciate. I know a lot of people think the deck is very OP, and you know what? Early stages of the game, Affinity does pretty well, I would say, sometimes really well, and again, sometimes they do turn 3 kill you, it happens, but I think it's a very fair deck. Am I going too far to see that? I definitely think it is, and it also, too, Affinity requires so much skill. Like, I think what really bothers me is when other people point fingers and say your deck is easy. Like, I think I told the story once when I went to a tournament with my friends. I remember I was playing Elves, and, like, one of my friends was like, I don't know how to pilot the deck at all, which, I mean, like, that thing about Elves is it's so, I don't know if combo's the right word, but it's so, like, synergy based that it's, like, tapping this elf, and then this untaps that elf, and when do you Coco, like, it's just, it's more complicated, and I hate, like, when people are like, oh, Elves is easy, or this deck is easy. I'm like, no, like, every deck has, like, you know, its learning curve, I would say, and I think it's really unfair to say that any deck is honestly super easy. Like, even like a deck like Burn, people think that's easy. It's totally not. I've done a video on that. But anyways, yeah, Affinity is so hard because, like, when do you kill people with Inkmoth Nexus? What do you equip Cranial Plating to? Like, it's, you know, what do you sacrifice to Arcbound Ravager? Like, it is so, you have to know your deck inside and out. Like, it is such a huge, I've seen people make mistakes with Affinity so many times. I have a real appreciation for people who can pilot Affinity well, and I feel like I haven't really talked that much about it, but it's definitely one of my favorite decks of all time. Myself personally, could I ever pilot that? Sure, I could learn, I could totally study up on Affinity and play it. It's just totally not my style of deck. It kind of goes, it's like, I feel like the phrase of that deck is like go big or go home, and I tend to not really like decks like that. I prefer taking my time. That's why I like control decks, I think, so much more, but as a whole, I think if I were to play a deck, like, if I were to go all out and do a deck that was super synergy based, it would probably be Affinity. Great appreciation for people who pilot it, so. Okay, this type of deck I actually really haven't talked about at all, I don't think, on my channel. Maybe a while back when I talked about EDH stuff. But one of my least favorite types of decks is Carador. And I would say really any, like, him as a commander, but honestly just, he is a crazy rude commander. He's super good. So he's 8 mana, 3/4, but it costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard. Like, come on, not an issue. And then during each of your turns, you may cast 1 creature card from your graveyard. Like, I think I would be more okay with this card if that first ability wasn't in play. Like, if you just paid 8 mana, and then during your turn, you may cast 1 card from... And it's funny because, like, you're reading this card and you're like, I love Graveyard Recursion. Like, my whole Tasigur deck is that, but I just think this card is, like, super broken. Like, I think, too, it's because of that ability, because you can basically cast him, like, for 3 mana, which is amazing. And then each turn you just get back something. Like, this is so stupid. I just can't. I really don't like Carador. My friend Eddie had this deck, or has this deck, and, super rude. I'm not a huge fan. And like I said, I really love Graveyard Recursion. I don't know what it is. I just think this card is super OP, and I'm not a fan. Okay, another deck that I really, I'd have to dig, but I don't think I've ever done a deck tag on this. One of my favorite type of EDH decks is actually a Talrand, Sky Summoner. He's an incredible card. I think such an underrated commander. Definitely, I would say, my top pick for blue commanders. I had a Talrand deck, and guys, I'm bummed now because I don't think I've ever done a deck tech on it, and let me know if you want, like, a mock deck tech, because I totally will brew something up. I had one, and it was so mean, because basically, like, all of what you do, like, is you run instants and sorceries. That's, like, basically all your deck. You run, like, no creatures, pretty much, because you get tokens, and you end up killing someone with either Talrand or the tokens that he produces. You know, you run a ton of mana rocks and things like that, so you can always cast Talrand, and then you just play all these instant sorceries. You counter everything your opponent does, you tap their creatures down. Like, you know, it was such a fun deck, and I took it apart because it was so rude 1v1. And I think, too, it wasn't good really multiplayer, because then everyone kind of targets you, and, you know, you're kind of susceptible to removal because you don't really have any win conditions. I guess I could, if I was probably to rework the deck, I'd probably throw in an infinite combo in there just as, like, a security blanket. I'd probably do something with, like, Deadeye Navigator and whatnot, because matches the colors. But I really love Talon. I really miss that deck, and like I said, I really haven't taken that many EDH decks apart. Like these decks that I've had for like years. I've kept them up, except for Ladies, which is pretty new. I've had that for like only a year. But my other decks, like my Angels deck, I've had that for like 4 years. And Omnath I've had for a while. Omnath I've had since he's come out. Tassiger I've had since he came out. So like, you know, whatever timeline that was, whatever year that was, I've had the deck since then. So yeah, I'm not really one who usually removes decks, and Talon was one because it was just so rude 1v1, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this. So okay, now this is one of my most hated commanders, and I don't think I've ever mentioned my hatred for Prosh. I knew a couple of people who had Prosh, and guys, I'm typing in Prosh, but I'm writing Porsche. Yep, and I just wrote Porsche after I said that. Okay, guys, Prosh, super rude card. I feel like a lot of people really hate this card, and I'm honestly kind of surprised that in my Cards I Loathe video, no one actually mentioned Prosh, because I feel like he's a collective hated commander. So he's like 6 mana for a 5/5 flyer, which is just stupid. Okay, whatever. When you cast him, you put on these tokens, right? And then where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prosh. So Prosh dying is like better for you, because you're like, oh sweet, I just get all these tokens. And then you sacrifice another creature. Now, let me just say too, with this card, you don't have to pay any amount of mana. So like, you sack any of your things, and Prosh just gets +1/+0. So basically what you do is you just run a lot of board wipes. You're running black, you're running red too, so you can run like all these board wipes. You blow up the board a million times, and then you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna sack like 20 of my dudes, and Prosh is now a 25/5, and then you just kill your opponent. Like, I think I would be more okay with this card if you like paid something to sack creatures, like even like all mana or something, but it's like you could just sack like any of your board. And the fact that he gets better the more times he dies. Prosh is so dumb. I hate him. Oh, I freaking hate him. Okay, let's end this video on a really good note. One of my favorite decks in Modern of all time actually is Abzan. I think one of the things that really attracted me towards Modern was like, I really wanted to cast Siege Rhino. Like, that was my whole thing. And actually when I was taking what deck apart, so this was in 2016 when I had Elves, and I was like, I'm gonna take Elves apart. I actually started brewing up an Abzan list. It was Little Kid Abzan, and I was like so excited about it. I've done, I think, a couple Abzan deck techs on here. I want to say like I've done 2, and I just love that deck. And you guys know me, and I've said this in this video, like, I love control decks. They are my baby. You can rip the control decks from my dead, lifeless hands. I love them. Abzan's my pet deck though. Abzan is a deck that I would play, and to me, saying that is a big deal. And what I think I love so much about Abzan, first off, is the flexibility in it. You know, you don't have people who have a set list, which I really love. Like, Affinity is so set, you really don't, people don't really change many cards in it. Abzan, you can do Little Kid Abzan, you could do like Coco stuff, you could do like anything you really want, which I think is so cool. If I were to build Abzan, and I am actually collecting the cards for that slowly but surely, I feel like mine will be removal. Definitely. I definitely want the removal. You know, you've got so many good cards, and like hand disruption and things like Thoughtseize and Inquisition, and then you have like Liliana the Veil. I know a lot of people are running the other Liliana, whose name I'm totally slipping on right now, but I just think the color combination is just something I really like. I don't want to say those are my 3 favorite colors, because again, I feel like I'm so divided. Like, I say I love blue, and I do, but I don't really play blue in Commander. You know, I'm not a control player in Commander. I'm an aggressive player, but in competitive Modern, I play, you know, that. I play blue, and then like in Draft and Sealed, I usually play blue-white flyers, aggressive, you know, it's weird. I have, you know, kind of like my different things that I like, but Abzan's a deck I feel like I will just always enjoy. You get to run really sweet cards like Lingering Souls, and again, Siege Rhino. Like, who doesn't want to cast Siege Rhino? Like, please, the card's awesome. The card is just so nuts. I love cards like that. I love creatures like that. Just card does so many things, and I'm talking about this, I'm like, I want to get the rest of the cards for this deck, because I just want to play like with these cards. And I just think it's such a well-balanced deck. And it's funny, because I think if you look at like 3 color decks that are similar to Abzan. Like Jund and Abzan, you know, you could say have their similarities. Like first off, they're 3 colors. Second off, they're kind of doing similar things. You know, you're running really sweet value creatures. You know, they're mid-range. You're running sweet value creatures. You have removal. Jund and Abzan are so similar, and Jund, a lot of people think is superior, and you're running things like Lightning Bolt, which, don't get me wrong, Lightning Bolt's a great magic card. You know, and your people run like Bob and stuff like that, which I don't like Bob, and I've talked about that before. But I think Abzan, to me, I don't want to say it's superior to Jund because it's so hard, you know, it's like, it's hard to compare those types of things, but I just think Abzan is so well balanced. It has so many answers. You have Path to Exile, you have such sweet removal cards, you have such great value creatures, you're running like Siege Rhino and like Lingering Souls. Like, it's just a great balanced deck, which is why I think I like it so much, because it has answers, but it's also aggressive, and I just love things like that. So that is it, guys. This was super fun to film, talking about my least and my favorite decks. I'd really like to know what decks you like, you know, some of your favorite commanders, or favorite or like least favorite modern decks that you just like hate, or commanders that you're just like, I hate this commander. This one person in my playgroup plays it, I can't stand it. So I look forward to reading your comments in the down bar below, somewhere below. But I will see you guys next week with one of my new videos.